Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Ever wonder what the most played cards in Commander are? Like the absolute most popular, most beloved? Well, we have all the answers to all your questions right here. With the help of EDHREC.com, we're able to calculate which cards have the highest inclusion percentage in available decks. Which means that let's say you want to know which red card is the absolute most played red card in all of Commander based on decks that have red in them. We can tell you that. We actually already did tell you that right here. Now in this video, we're going to look at the top 10 most played mono blue cards in all of Commander. And remember, this includes not just mono blue decks, but all commanders with a blue color identity. Can you guess what tops the list? Let's get into it. Now this is a bit awkward because if you remember, we already made a video called the top 10 most played cards in all of Commander. That list just happened to have a couple of blue cards on it, so for the purposes of this video, we're not going to include those two because that's just making the same content again and we're not going to do that. If you want to know what they are, you can click this convenient link right here. Now, let's begin with number 10, which is really number 12, but you get what I mean. Clever Impersonator. The second this card was spoiled years ago, everyone knew it was going to make waves in Commander, and it certainly has. Not only does this upgraded clone copy creatures, it also copies any non-land permanent. Anything. Just a truly absurd card. I guess that's why it's included in 14.6% of all Commander decks that have blue in them. That's a little under 9,500 unique deck lists. Quite impressive. From Brago to Rune to Alluro and more, Clever Impersonator has snuck its way into a massive amount of strategies. Much respect. Coming in at number 9 is the first draw spell on the list, Preordain. You had to know that we were going to look at some draw spells, and Preordain is obviously one of the most popular. Discounting the pre-con decks, it's still widely used. With a relatively low price tag and the ability to fit into basically any blue deck, there's no real reason not to run Preordain if you need some card draw. Whether it's in a powerful spell-based deck like Talrand or Mizzix, or even something not so focused like Noyandar or Narset, Preordain pretty much fits everywhere, and with a 14.9% inclusion rate, hard to argue with results. An anticlimactic card, maybe, but a good one nonetheless. Speeding into the number 8 spot is Propaganda, one of the most infamous enchantments in all of Commander, and for good reason. Good blue prison enchantments don't exactly grow on trees, so when you see one at a relatively cheap cost, both mana and price-wise, you jump on it. Propaganda slows games down to a snail's pace, and for a lot of blue strategies, that's exactly what they need. Think about it. When was the last time Nekasar, Zedru, or Kineos and Tyro tried to win via aggro? Yeah, never. Propaganda is a card that pisses everyone off, but dang if it isn't effective. Now this is a card I was surprised by. Rite of Replication grabs the number 7 spot. Now I always knew this card was bonkers, but I didn't know it had such a following. Included in a whopping 18.2% of all decks with blue in it, Rite of Replication has earned my respect. For a card that is so big and does something so grand, you'd think that players would be a little more cautious when putting it in their deck. Nope, not at all. Over 11,700 unique deck lists that include Rite of Replication. I have to say, this is really surprising. Again, I knew it was awesome. I didn't know it was this awesome. Do you all see Rite of Replication a lot? Honestly, I'm a bit blindsided here. Just beating out Rite of Replication for the number 6 spot by 0.1% inclusion rate is Phyrexian Metamorph. Simply put, this is just a more versatile, clever impersonator. Of course, it's obviously more complicated than that, but for all intents and purposes, that's what a lot of players are going to see. The reason the Metamorph is so much higher than the Impersonator on this list is because it is, in fact, an artifact, which is why you see it in Breya and Sidri and Shahroom, in addition to all the normal strategies you see Clever Impersonator in. So basically, the Metamorph is double dipping in non-artifact blue decks and artifact-based blue decks. What a greedy dude looking for all the attention. Anyways, it barely beats out Rite of Replication by about 100 total deck lists, but it's able to do that while being way more expensive than Rite of Replication. At a whopping $7 each, this is a respectable inclusion rate. If you have a Metamorph and you aren't playing it in your blue deck, maybe take a second look. The card speaks for itself. Breaking into our top 5 is Ponder, our next but certainly not last draw spell on the list. Interestingly, Ponder is included in around 2,500 more unique deck lists than Preordain, and boasts an 18.7% inclusion rate, which is 3% higher than Preordain. So basically what I'm saying is that Commander players like Ponder much more than Preordain. It's all about that shuffle, baby. Ponder brings a lot to the table for being a single blue mana. You get to see what's coming, decide if you want it, if you don't, gone forever. If you do, great, you get a card. Using it with a fetch land, immensely useful. Ponder is going to have the same blueprint as Preordain, except it's just more widely used. So, Talran, Melik, Yidris, Jaleva, really anything running blue loves Ponder, apparently. Number 4 is a classic. Fact or Fiction is a wonderful card, always has been, always will be. Going 5 cards deep has value in and of itself, but the politics of the commander table make this card even more delicious. You choose the opponent who's going to make your piles, then you choose what you want. It's the best way to get the rest of the table mad at both you and the person who separated the piles poorly. Don't want to make friends? Play Fact or Fiction. Want to make friends? Hope the person playing Fact or Fiction doesn't choose you to make piles. In all honesty, this is going to draw you at least a couple cards most of the time, and that's why it's played in 19.6% of all available blue decks. With strong inclusion in Tasigur, Riku, Mimeoplasm, and more, Fact or Fiction gets you cards in hand and cards in your graveyard. It's kind of everything you want, honestly. It's great stuff. Not surprised it's up here. Alright, top 3. We're getting some major jumps in inclusion right now. Number 3 is Mystical Tutor. I shouldn't have to tell you how absurdly powerful tutors are in Commander. It's a 100-card deck of singletons. Come on, tutors are what make the world go round. And while a lot of players hate them, more love them, and Mystical Tutor is no different. Included in many of the same decks that include Ponder and Preordain, Mystical Tutor is your one-stop shop for a combo piece, crazy control spell, whatever it is you need to win the game. Included in a respectable 23.1% of all blue decks, you can bet that most any blue deck has something interesting to find, and even though it was just reprinted in Eternal Masters, it's still sitting at $5 each due to Commander and Vintage play. Solid card, definitely at a fair price right now if you need one, by the way. It's pretty cheap considering the power. Number 2 is Brainstorm, arguably the best direct draw spell in the entire game of Magic. It isn't surprising at all to see this card this high up on the list. Included in 26.6% of all possible decks, Brainstorm sits atop the 1-mana cantrip Tower. Draw 3 cards, put 2 back you either want to protect from hand attack or don't want right now. Use a fetch land to get rid of them. Genius stuff. As you can probably already guess though, Brainstorm is included in the same decks that Mystical Tutor, Ponder, and Preordain are included in. We're really starting to see a pattern here. Blue players like to draw cards. Who knew, am I right? Number 1. Now let me be clear about this. Brainstorm was beaten out by literally one unique deck list. That's a 0.002% inclusion rate. 0.002. Literally one deck list. That's insanity. Alright, now without further ado, the top of our list is Rhystic Study. Honestly, one of the most hated cards in the entire format. I'm convinced it's only played this much because people hate when it's played against them, so they have to play it. It's like a necessary evil. Not only does it keep people honest at the table, but it keeps them miserable as well. The Rhystic Study tax is unnerving to say the absolute least, and when someone won't pay up, everyone gets infuriated as they should because you're giving away free cards. See, now I'm getting annoyed. I'm not even playing right now. Anyways, you see this stupid thing everywhere, in every type of strategy, all over Blue's color identity. From Aloro to Brea to Niv Mizzet to Talrand, it doesn't matter. Rhystic Study can find its way into any blue deck, and oftentimes it does. What's most impressive is that it has such a high inclusion rate while being $8 each. That's just impressive. Such an infuriating card. My goodness, it's annoying. So what do you all think about this list? Are these the mono blue cards you expected to be the most played? Do you not understand why people play these? Not gonna lie, still pretty thrown by right of replication's inclusion rate insanity to me. But I love the cards, so why not? Whatever makes you happy. Also, as long as you enjoy these, we're going to make episodes for each individual color and then each color pair. So be sure to let me know if this is a series you're into. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Did you see anything on this list that tickles your fancy? How about a copy of Mystical Tutor? Much cheaper than I expected. You can get an Eternal Masters copy of Mystical Tutor with that amazing new artwork for a cool $5.50. Pretty cheap considering its power. Not your jam or you already have one? How about the bane of my existence, Rhystic Study? This stupid thing is a nightmare. But it's a nightmare that everyone and their parents are using. If you want in on the study train to basically make everyone you know angry, you can get one right now for $8. Might seem like a lot, but Rhystic Study is an investment that will pay for itself in no time. So click the links if you want these cards. Helps the channel. We all win. Enjoy.
Wow.